Well, it's a new year. We can look forward to all the great things coming our way, like the new video games, events you might be going to, the inevitable heat death of the universe, next month's picture in the toilets of the world calendar. You know, the normal stuff. It's also a time of reflection, looking back at all the stuff that's happened in the past. Hey, remember that really embarrassing thing you did as a kid? You know the one. Doesn't it feel good to feel the embarrassment again? You're welcome. And really, all of this is just pointless filler as I try to think of a way to smoothly transition to talk about disappointing video games. Can't really think of how to do that though. Come on, we all know the feeling, right? Getting really excited about an upcoming video game, and then it comes out and it sucks. Literally the most disappointing thing in the world. That's what this list is here to talk about, as I count down my top 10 disappointing video games. Just a few rules first. When I say video games, I more so mean just gaming in general. So it could be a video game, it could be a console, it could be a person, you get the idea. It just has to be related to video games, but let's face it, that wouldn't fit well into a video title. And of course bear in mind that these are things I found disappointing. I may take into account things other people found disappointing, but my opinion will obviously shift where it goes in the list. So welcome, one and all, to my top 10 list of disappointing video games. Open bracket, and also the industry as a whole. Close bracket. Oh boy, you could see this one coming a mile away, huh? Yep, when Duke Nukem Forever finally came out, some 12 years after it was originally supposed to, fans of Duke Nukem 3D were disappointed that they got a game that felt, well, 12 years old. Okay, so the reason why this game is so high up on this list is because I actually like Duke Nukem Forever. I guess it's because I didn't wait 12 years like most people did. However, that doesn't mean that I can't see why people were disappointed. Dated visuals, clunky gameplay, linear levels, and an awkward hybrid of the best of old school shooters and the worst of modern shooters left us with a Duke Nukem Forever that really isn't as good as it perhaps should have been. That doesn't mean it's necessarily all bad though. The guns feel solid, the classic Duke Nukem humour is still there, even if it does fall flat in some areas, and it has some of my favourite levels in any first-person shooter. This is going to sound incredibly weird to a lot of you, but it actually reminds me of Half-Life 2 in some ways, and I mean that in the best possible way for both games. Duke Nukem utilises some fun and creative puzzles into the levels, and how it's all mapped out like one journey instead of jumping from location to location is something I really like. I also absolutely love how they managed to make messing around with items in the environment something you have to do to get more health. It's just fun. But really, after 12 years of waiting, Duke did deserve better, and obviously many people thought so, which is why it's on this list. It does, however, get points for being the only game that I've played where there are slappable breasts hanging from walls. So take from that what you will. I love my Vita. Most people who own a Vita love it. It has some great games on it, and is a really impressive piece of kit. The menus are super clean and the whole thing is just really nice to use. You know who doesn't love the Vita? Sony. Look, okay, Sony, you have something here that could have rivaled the 3DS. All you had to do was support it with a good first-party lineup and keep the user base engaged with your games. However, the Vita never really did get that first-party support, did it? They just sort of lumped 5 games onto it and said, fuck it, we did our part, lol. So what you're left with is an awesome piece of kit that has sadly not reached its full potential, resulting in a console that doesn't have that many games compared to its competitors. It could get some great games. Hell, it does get great games. But Sony's attitude towards the Vita has pretty much doomed it to forever lag behind the far superior 3DS. And the final nail in the coffin, really, is the fact that they're basically selling the Vita as a PS4 add-on now. I guess it's a way to give the PS4 controller similar to the Wii U gamepad, but here's the thing, Sony, the Vita isn't a controller, it's a game console. Why not try making some more games for it, you know?
It crept forth boldly while its brethren remained in the blackest ocean abyss, with lidless eyes forever staring.
I'm just gonna go out on a limb with this one, but I'm gonna wager that Half-Life 3 is going to be a disappointment to everyone who has been waiting for it since finishing the second game. I'm sure it will be a good game, I don't think anyone is going to try and argue against that. but the amount of hype and excitement that people have been rallying up for this game over the past 7 years, I just feel like it will be impossible for the game to live up to that hype. Maybe if Valve didn't get so sidetracked with hats, controllers and PCs that literally nobody asked for, and actually spent time developing games, things would be a lot different. I mean, at this point, do we even know if Half-Life 3 is actually a thing? There's some concept art, but it hasn't been formally announced or anything. Everyone just assumes it's gonna happen. And when it does, I just think everyone's gonna be disappointed by it. But not me. I didn't like the first one and thought the second one was good, but overrated, so, you know, not gonna buy it when it comes out.
Who are you? What do you want?
Oh boy, where do I even start with this game?
Fuck you! Fuck you!
Oh yeah, that pretty much sums it up. A massive fuck you to the fans of the previous Devil May Cry games. Now I love me some Devil May Cry. Hell, I even did a video on it not too long ago. Oh crap, that was almost a year ago now. Ah geez, time, please. So what made DMC Devil May Cry so disappointing? Well, you know, the fact it's worse than all the previous games in the series is a pretty big one. Like, Jesus Christ, if the game's combat got watered down anymore, you'd call it a Great Lake. Mind-numbingly simple compared to the beautifully deep combat system of Devil May Cry 4, this game was not afraid to insult fans of the original games at every opportunity. From mocking fans of the series for expecting features that had been standard since the very first game, deliberately making Dante an annoying prick at every opportunity, and filling the game with more techno lights and wub than any human being should ever intake over the course of their lifetime, then you've just about scratched the surface as to why most Devil May Cry fans agree that DMC isn't worth your time. But hey, it's okay. After the game gave a massive fuck you to all the fans of the originals, they in turn gave a massive fuck you back by not buying it. But hey, it's getting a remaster with lots of improvements that fans wanted. Yeah, improvements that should have been in the original frickin' game. Thank God they're making Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, eh?
Time to go.
The Metroid series is probably one of my favourites. It manages to bring a sense of discovery and adventure unlike any other games I've ever played. I love the lore behind the games, I love the power-ups, I love everything. Apart from Metroid Other M. After the amazing Metroid Prime series, it's easy to see why this is a massive disappointment to some. Me included, and I only picked up the game like 2 weeks ago when I knew it was gonna be bad. So what is it about Metroid Other M that makes it so disappointing? Is it the awkward melodramatic writing which seems completely out of tune with the rest of the series? Well, yeah it is. I don't want to get into too many details about the story because I need to keep these sections short, but they really screwed the pooch with this one. It is so badly done, it's like a strange fan fiction instead of an actual inclusion in the game's universe. The fact that Samus is emotionally unstable in this game isn't necessarily the problem, even if it can be a bit jarring seeing the strongest woman icon in gaming like this. The problems come up when we are expected to believe she's been like this for every other Metroid game. The plot is also so badly handled that they had to get rid of the series' 3 most critically acclaimed games from the timeline in order to cover up for their mistakes. How do you fuck up that badly? Okay, so ignoring the stupid story, the gameplay is good, right? Well no, sorry, but even if Other M came with the greatest story known to mankind ever told, that doesn't change the fact that the game's gameplay is an awkward mess of third-person action fighting and first-person shooting. You have to hold the Wiimote on its side, there's no option to use the nunchuck. So as any veterans of Tomb Raider for the PS1 can tell you, moving a character in a 3D space using a D-pad feels like shit. On top of this, some enemies require you to use a mix between third-person shooting and then using a missile in first-person to damage them. But in order to use first-person, you need to hold the Wiimote like this. As you can imagine, this flows as well in gameplay as a chunky period. Couple this with awkward first-person moments where you need to find a normally small, hard-to-see object before you can continue, and the fact that the main thing about Metroid, exploration, isn't present in this game, then you've got a Metroid game which, well, isn't that good of a Metroid game. Okay, so by now you're probably sick and tired of my stupid British accent. So what better way to soothe your ears than letting someone else talk for a while? who also has a British accent. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare to rock whilst you roll, as MasterJay talks to you about which game he found the most disappointing.
When it comes to disappointments, I'm sure my dad would tell you that I'm probably the biggest one there is. And for that reason alone, I feel that I'm more than qualified to contribute to this list than any other YouTuber that is no doubt a million times better than me in every way. But before I do, let me take you on a little journey back to when I was just a little baby. 12, if you really want to be specific. I had just gotten my hands on Grand Theft Auto for the PS1. And by my hands, I meant my dad's, cause that shit was an 18, but who gives a fuck? But from that moment on, I was an addict, ODing my way through every game in the series until I was on the floor in fits. Also, that was probably all the heroin. It was GTA 3 that introduced 3D and boats, GTA Vice City threw in bikes, helicopters and the faggio, and it was GTA San Andreas that decided it wanted to go and be GTA the fucking Sims. And with amazing updates like these to the games every single time, you can imagine my excitement when I wondered what the next generation of GTA had in store for me as a loyal GTA fan. What could they possibly add to the world of GTA that we haven't seen before, I said. Maybe spacecraft? Heck, maybe even a bigger dildo that can destroy entire cities. Hey, I've got a better idea. How about we do none of that? Set it back in Liberty City, apparently. Make every colour either dirt grey or shit brown, you know, really submerge the player in the overwhelming desire to kill himself. Make every car control like soap, because you know when it's the main gameplay element, you really want to make sure you fuck that up as much as possible. Make Nico about as interesting and entertaining as a long metal pole. Get it? Because he's Polish. He's not Polish. I don't know, maybe because sometimes the best solution is almost always the easiest one. But I'm not saying this game is bad, I'm just saying that as a gamer I'm entitled to the privilege of having Rockstar cater to all my expectations when it comes to their games. And if, you know, they could maybe not fuck up the combat and the social interactions that could be easily prevented, like... Hang on.
Hey Jay, do you want to go bowling?
No, fuck off! Like that, then that would be great. So yeah, there you have it. The reasons why GTA 4 is hands down the worst game ever created in the history of mankind, except... not really.
There we go. No Inquisition. No war. Nothing outside this room. Just you and me. So... what'd you want to talk about?
Sorry to disturb your rest, Inquisitor, but our oh, sweet maker.
Cullen, how's it going?
Alright, so I can't be the only person who noticed how 2014 was pretty much anus for video games, right? 2014, more than any other year, seemed to have been filled with more failed promises, industry BS and crappy rushed games than any other. It's almost impressive in a very depressing way. Destiny left many fans wanting more, Watch Dogs was just a GTA clone, Assassin's Creed Unity was a buggy mess, Halo Master Chief Collection's multiplayer is barely functional, Dragon Age Inquisition was a watered down RPG. I could just go on and on about how many games have been disappointments this year. So I will. The Elder Scrolls Online, good one. Thief was a massive casualization of a great stealth series, The Sims 4 was a massive downgrade from The Sims 3, and let's not forget about the peak of the shit Sunday that was Dungeon Keeper for mobile. I honestly can't think of a more disappointing year in gaming than this one. Apart from maybe 1983, that was a pretty big one. But what we saw this year was truly the worst display from AAA developers yet, as it honestly starts to look like they just don't care about the quality of their games anymore, and instead only care about squeezing every last penny out of consumers before the game reviews can come out. Nintendo had a pretty good year with some great games released onto their systems. PC also had a pretty alright year because PC always seems to. But for everything else, wow. Just wow.
I want Rocky Road ice cream!
Number 3 on this list goes to 2 games so disappointing that I don't even have to explain why they're on here. Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 variety and Sonic Boom. That's it. That's number 3. We're done here. Next. So all the things on this list so far have been disappointing because of what we got. But there is another type of disappointing. The disappointment of never having gotten something in the first place. Now many of you have probably felt this when a game you were looking forward to got cancelled. But for this number 2, I think it's gonna have to go to an entire system's worth of games that we missed out on. See this weird lump on the bottom of the N64? For those of you unaware, that was the N64DD, a disc add-on for the N64 that never made it outside of Japan. It was made in order to create games that were not possible on the N64 at the time, boosting more power, a disk storage space of a whopping 64 megabytes, and having internet connectivity. The magnetic discs it used were also read-write, unlike PlayStation's read-only CD-ROMs, meaning that you could make changes to your game world and they would stay there forever. Like, for example, if you were to chop down a tree in Zelda, it would stay like that forever. It was originally planned to be released at launch with the N64, which never ended up happening. It got released a few years later, but it was very confusing, so only 15,000 were ever sold. But boy, joke's on us, those lucky 15,000 people got to experience the vast library of 9 games released onto the thing. So yeah, N64DD kinda sucked, but the fact it sucked isn't why it's on this list. It's the potential that the system had that is truly devastating to me. With the failure of the N64DD, we missed out on a better version of Banjo-Tooie, Diablo, Dragon Warrior 7, Fire Emblem 64, a better version of Kirby 64, the original version of Mother 3 and its add-on, Pokemon for the N64, a better version of the Pokemon Stadium games, the sequel to Super Mario 64, a better version of Paper Mario, and perhaps most disappointing of all, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, a game widely considered the greatest of all time, was originally in development for the system, and damn, what was shown of it looked a lot better than the gimped, but obviously still amazing final game. So much content had to be cut from Ocarina of Time to make it fit on a cartridge. Can you imagine how awesome it would have been to have a better version of the greatest game of all time? Here it is, the moment you might have been waiting for. The most disappointing thing in gaming is... Okay, you all saw this one coming, right? No? Okay. Rare was perhaps one of the greatest game developers around back in the 90s and early 2000s. I mean, sure, they made a lot of crap back on the NES which any fan of a certain angry nerd will be acquainted with, but let's face it, that isn't what Rare is known for. Hell, I bet most of you didn't even know these games were made by Rare. Battletoads, Donkey Kong Country, Snake Rattle and Roll, Banjo-Kazooie, Killer Instinct, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Perfect Dark, and GoldenEye 007. That's a pretty impressive resume right there. Write down that you helped make Banjo-Kazooie on your CV and you'd probably be able to get hired just about anywhere. I mean, you wouldn't, but... So where did it all go wrong? Microsoft. Sorry to answer the question for you so quickly there. I'm not sure what happened, but once Microsoft bought Rare, everything seemed to go downhill. It's like the moment they handed over the money, they actually forgot what Rare was, so when they arrived they were all like, I don't know, grabbed by the ghoulies? Sure, that's a good name. So what do we get from Rare post-Microsoft, eh? A worse version of Conker's Bad Fur Day? A weird Banjo-Kazooie game? Mr. Pants? I'm sure everyone loves that one. I mean, there were some good games. Okay, one. But look, Rare, a husk of their former self. Just over 10 years ago making some of the greatest games of all time. And now they're busy making Connect games. It hurts, you know? What a fucking disappointment to have some of the greatest IPs in history stolen from all of us like that. I can snap my fingers, honest. Apparently Rare are working on a new game now. One that doesn't use Connect, but based on their games recently, if it is a new Banjo-Kazooie or Perfect Dark, I'm just not sure they should be the ones to bring them back, you know? Hey guys, Fracky here. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's my first ever top 10 I've put out. I know it was a little bit serious and not so joke heavy, but these things happen when you don't really know what you're doing, which is pretty much me for every video. If there's any points you disagree with or you want to bring up more, then you can leave them in the comments, as always, and we can talk about them and probably be sad together. Massive shout out to MasterJay for not only doing his section on GTA 4, but also getting the Metroid footage for me, which is really great of him. If you haven't heard of MasterJay before, you can click on this link here. It will take you to his channel and his videos are amazingly funny. Seriously, you should really check him out. And I can't really think of what else to say here because it's an end card section and no one watches these anyway, so I'm just gonna go. Bye.